Yo, what's good? I'm gonna show you how to turn your young FAZO beats from this into insane beats like this. This tutorial's beat is more of Young FAZO's new style, and the song they just dropped is called Run. It's in more of a Young Money 2011 type vibe, but I really fuck with it. So make sure to watch the whole way through if you want to replicate that sound. To start off making this beat, I opened up Zenology and got this preset, and I just laid down a very simple 3-chord progression right here, with just one note at the end of this 3-chord progression to add in some variation. This is just a 2-bar loop, and I chopped up the notes to give it that Young Money sound that you hear in those 2011 type beats. To do this, I just put it onto step using this magnet, and then chopped up the chords just like this. And to find these chords, I just used this little panel right here and used a 5th, 9th, and then dragged it into the root note that I wanted it to start on. And then I added in these 2 notes here and here. And then I just pitched that chord down 5 semitones, and I made sure that all of the notes were in scale by just pitching some of the notes up or down 1 octave. And then I just brought the original chord over to the end of this chord progression, and I deleted the top note. And then just adding some variation at the end of this chord progression, I just added in the C sharp and cut it up. After making this chord progression, I just duplicated this over to fill the 8-bar loop. Here's what that sounds like by itself. Next, I just opened up Zenology again and got a pad. Here, I just copied over the MIDI that I just created onto this pad. Here's what that one sounds like. Next, I opened up Zenology again and got this string. And again, I just copied over the MIDI from the last 2 sounds onto this sound. But to add in some variation, I just routed it to a mixer track and put a shaper box on it. The shaper box that I used was just called Slice Stutter. It's just a stock shaper box sound, so you should be able to find it if you just search for it. And here's what this instrument sounds like just by itself. Next, I opened up Zenology again, and I got a lead. I just tried to listen to the chords that I already placed down, and I tried to hum out a melody that I could hear with those chords, and then I just translated that from my head onto FL Studio. Especially when I was starting out, that was very hard for me to do. So if you can't do it when you first try, don't beat yourself up about it. Just keep practicing, and eventually you'll be able to do it with ease. The melody that I came up with utilizes a lot of flams and half notes. The key for creating good leads that mesh with chord progressions is just to use the same notes that you use in the chords within the lead. I just routed it to a mixer track and put a shaper box on it. The shaper box that I put on it is called Beat Repeat 2, another stock shaper box preset. You should be able to find it. And that was allotted for this lead, and that is the full melody done. For these type of beats, you don't really want to go too crazy on the melody. You can really make a full sounding melody by just making one chord progression and layering it with a lot of different sounds. And now I'll play that full melody for you. Now coming into the drums, I just started off with the snare. Here's what this snare sounds like. And I just laid it down on every second bar. I did this so I could alternate between snares. The snare that I alternated it with sounds like this. I really like the way the snare sounds, but I didn't want to put it on every single bar because I feel like it needed some more variation. So I alternated between both snares. Next, I just got a Vox and I put it on the 4th beat of every bar, excluding the 4th bar. I removed it from the 4th bar just so I could add in the tom roll later to add in some more variation. Next, I got an accent snare, and I just laid it down straight after or before the main snares that I'd already placed down, just to emphasize that main snare. Next, I just got a kick, and here I tried to hear out a nice bounce that went with the rest of the drums that I had already placed. With kicks, you want to keep it pretty simple. You just want to make a pretty solid pattern that complements the rest of the drums that you place down. And with kicks, I like to use a technique where I change the velocity of a note that leads into the next one. I wanted to place down this note originally, so I added in a note just before it and lowered the velocity to lead into it. Next, I got an open hat, and I laid it down on every second bar. Next, I just got a hi-hat, and because I didn't like the way a 2-step hi-hat sounded with this beat, I just tried to fill in the gaps in the drums that I'd already placed down. I just laid down 2 different rolls in every 4-bar loop, and just one right here to add in some more bounce. Next, I just got a bass. Here, I just used a Reese bass, and I copied over the root notes of the chord progression that I created earlier onto this bass progression, and that was all I did. Next, I just got a tom and laid down a little roll right here coming into the second 4-bar loop of the 8-bar loop, just to build up into that drop. The final part of this drums is just a plug crash, and it's just on the first beat of every 8-bar loop. And this is what the full drums sound like altogether. Now that we're done the melody and the drums, we're ready to go straight into arranging this beat. To start off arranging this beat, I just brought over the original chord progression and one of the variations of it, along with the vox that I added in earlier. And then I just brought in the drums with no kick or bass. And then at the drop of the next 8-bar loop, I brought in the kick and the bass. I also used this little please sound effect and this other hi-hat sound effect. I also just added in a riser just before this drop to make it hit even harder. And then I just deleted some of the melodies and added some in just to add in some variation. You don't want the beat to get boring. And I just duplicated that over again. And then after 4 8-bar loops of the full beat, I added in a bridge right over here. I made this bridge by just duplicating over the intro, but deleting all of the drums out of it. And I just duplicated everything over once more. And then to make it outro, I just brought over one of the more empty sounding instruments that I had the main chord progression laid out on. And that is the full beat. I appreciate you guys for watching. Leave me some feedback on this video and let me know what type of beat you want me to make next. And I'll play the full beat for you guys. Peace.